22nd willem.C Vis International Commercial Arbitration. You know, Vienna has a long history. The Celts were here. The Romans had a military camp, the name of Vienna, capital of two different empires over time. But the proudest thing is it's the location of the willem.C Vis International Commercial Arbitration Moot. It's going to be a busy week. Altogether, there will be over 600 arguments. That's a lot of arbitration. There's going to be a lot of lawyers, professors who are going to hear the arguments of the students. And we welcome all of you, whether student, lawyer, professor, some other category. I guess there are some other categories. Accompanying person. We welcome you to this event. It's a week in which, particularly those of you who are new to the moot, will find that it's a time when you can really make friends with people from other countries. You share a lot. For those of you who are students, you're all students. To some degree, being a student is the same, whatever country you're in, but in many ways it's different. You will all have worked on the problem for 6 months. You know what the issues are, what the difficulties are. You've all learned about coltan. Had you ever heard of coltan before? Conflict-free coltan? I hadn't heard of that. Conflict-free diamonds, yes. Coltan, no. Global compact. Well, we had that up here at a moot problem a couple of years ago, too. So one learns about so many things. Obviously, arbitration. Obviously, CISG. And all of this is good. But also, that you make friends. One of when we began this 22 years ago, that it would be a location for making friends was an important part of our thinking. We had all had international experience in one form or another, and we knew that to be successful, happy in this kind of work, you had to be able to work with people from other countries. And that's not always easy. But if you hadn't started before, this is a time and a place for it all to begin. So, tonight we have several speakers who also will welcome you. And the first of them is one of the 3 co-directors of the moot, Dr. XXII.
Thank you, Eric. It's a great pleasure and a privilege to welcome you personally and on behalf of my co-directors, Magister Patricia Netal and Professor Stefan Kroll. A sentence that I think you'll hear many times by many people this week is that simply by being here, you have already won. And they say that because it's true. The moot is a competition, but it is a competition because it needs to be, not because it wants to be. The moot is much bigger than a simple competition, and to demonstrate this, I thought I might give you some numbers that I think you'll find interesting. We have nearly 2,000 student participants in this year's competition alone. That's 299 teams. There are 845 arbitrators who are participating in the oral hearings in Vienna. That number increases to 1,126 when you include those who have participated in the ranking of the memorandum. There were 1,752 clarification requests, of which Stefan was grateful for every single one of them. There are 598 hearings in the general rounds. That's 1,794 arbitrator slots in the general rounds. And my personal favourite, in excess of 20,000 plus emails have been sent, fortunately not all individually written. But the Moot community is simultaneously a small, intimate and special one, and I think it's very important that we all recognise that as well. I would, for example, be prepared to bet that more than half the people in this room have dreamt about the Moot problem in the last 6 months. Not many people in the world could claim that. I also have no doubt that the majority of you have started making jokes about the Moot. Your non-Moot friends have probably looked at you with complete confusion as you've rolled around the floor in raucous laughter thinking your joke was hysterical. Well, I can't guarantee that people will laugh at your jokes here, but they'll certainly understand them. Now, some administrative matters from me. Firstly, if I could address those who are arbitrating in the room, there are still some open slots for the coming days, and in particular tomorrow and in particular tomorrow morning. So we will have a table set up at the mezzanine level. So after this evening's events conclude, if anyone who is available could come and see us, we can do some of the rescheduling there. I would also like to... Now, an administrative point addressed to everyone, and that's a reminder that the clocks move forward on Saturday night, Sunday morning. So it's very important to be careful and turn up to your Sunday morning moot on time, knowing that the hours that the clocks have moved forward. So with that last piece of advice, all that remains for me to do again is to welcome you, to wish you all the best in the competition, to invite you to enjoy this experience, but also to enjoy this wonderful city, and to say thank you very much. Thank you.
Has now arrived at 300 teams and is not grown up so far and will continue to grow for the next years. This means in practice, and I think this is important, that the participants of this moot learn already as students not only what international arbitration is, but also how it works in this competition with teams from all over the world. I simply wish to tell you that this was not natural some times ago, and I give you a little story in this connection. When I was a student and I prepared my examination on Austrian law, the lecturer of the preparatory course I was attending invited us to bring along the lecture notes for him to tell us what chapters we would not need to learn, because according to his experience, they were never dealt with in exams. And this chapter included the chapter on arbitration on the Austrian Code of Civil Procedure, and I happily crossed it out. So it took some time in my professional career that I learned what arbitration is, what international arbitration is, and how it works. I remember in this view of the enormous growth of the event from one year to the next, that there have been continuous technical problems to be solved, and that already in the year 2002, Eric Bergson wrote me in a letter, I have begun to think that what should be done is to split the moot in two parts. I'm very happy that this has not been happening so far, but this was only possible due to an enormous additional administrative work which Eric Bergson and now Patricia Nettal, Stefan Kröll and Christopher Key and others are doing. And I wish to thank them also in your name, because without their tremendous work, the event will certainly break down. To sum up, I wish you again an exciting week in Vienna and possibly to see you again next year. Has now arrived at 300 teams and is not grown up so far and will continue to grow for the next years. This means in practice, and I think this is important, that the participants of this mood learn already as students not only what international arbitration is, but also how it works in this competition with teams from all over the world. I simply wish to tell you that this was not natural some times ago, and I give you a little story in this connection. When I was a student and I prepared my examination on Austrian law, the lecturer of the preparatory course I was attending invited us to bring along the lecture notes for him to tell us what chapters we would not need to learn, because according to his experience, they were never dealt with in exams. And this chapter included the chapter on arbitration on the Austrian Code of Civil Procedure, and I happily crossed it out. So it took some time in my professional career that I learned what arbitration is, what international arbitration is, and how it works. I remember in this view of the enormous growth of the event from one year to the next, that there have been continuous technical problems to be solved, and that already in the year 2002, Eric Bergson wrote me in a letter, I have begun to think that what should be done is to split the mood in two parts. I am very happy that this has not been happening so far, but this was only possible due to an enormous additional administrative work which Eric Bergson and now Patricia Nettal, Stefan Kröll and Christopher Key and others are doing. And I wish to thank them also in your name, because without their tremendous work, the event will certainly break down. To sum up, I wish you again an exciting week in Vienna and possibly to see you again next year.
The law faculties in a suburb of New York. But I think 9 years ago, the sponsorship or the underlying organizing entity was what's called the Verein in German, a non-profit corporation, if you wish, here in Vienna. It's a membership corporation. Among the members, there are some institutional members and there are some individual who are members. There are 4 universities: Pace, Vienna, Stockholm, and Queen Mary. Stockholm and Queen Mary both have LLM programs in international arbitration. And so the next person to welcome you as a representative of the universities who are members of the Verein, which officially organizes the mood, Professor Dr. Lucas Mistelis from Queen Mary. Lucas?
Good afternoon, everyone. I first heard about the Moot, or indeed any Moot, in late 1993, when I arrived at the university as a young research student, and my supervisor handed me a letter written by Albert Pritchard, invited him and the university to participate in the Moot. I knew that there was some sort of, I knew Jesup, I have heard of Jesup. But for me, more or less since 1993, the word Moot has become synonymous with the Vis Moot. And the infrastructure was not such that my then university could participate in the Moot for a few more years. I think the first time that they joined was in 1998. And it's not entirely down to the Moot, but also to a large extent down to the Moot that I have specialized in arbitration, and I'm now the director of the School of International Arbitration at Queen Mary, an institution which will be celebrating its 30th anniversary this year. If you are at the Moot for the first time, and I would like to invite those who have been to the Moot before to stand up. The Moot works because we have these two different groups. And if you've been to the one, the likelihood is that you will join the other, that you'll be coming back to the Moot. The Moot is a lot of things. It is certainly an academic event. It takes a lot of academic effort to put the Moot program together and to force students to look at a particular legal issue which is controversial. It's not entirely settled by case law, but it's also useful for you to know. And you get to use laws or rules that are not necessarily the law of your country. I mean, the CSG, unfortunately, is not the law of every single member of the United Nations, but a lot of people who have not had the CSG as their own law have to study for the Moot, and you have to study arbitration. It is also a professional event. It simulates an arbitration which comes pretty close to a real-life arbitration, save for that the advocacy in the Moot is perhaps a bit better than advocacy in real life. But maybe because very rarely lawyers have weeks and months to prepare for a single hearing, and they have to do it several times. So I would think that that's possibly what is the matter. So it is a simulation of a professional event, and a lot of the people who were in the second group are professional arbitrators, academics, and they do bring that level of reality to the Moot, as you might have seen, and I think you will be seeing. There's a lot of side events happening, which are pure professional events. But for me, the Moot is not about the academic side or the professional side, because one can argue about things could be done better, but it is, and it is actually what it is, an educational event. It is an educational event which is down to the vision and altruism of two individuals and a third one. Professor Albert Pritchard, the late Professor Pritchard, Eric Bergsten, who has taken the Moot from the very beginning and has developed it to this massive educational event and making it better substantively every single year. And then, of course, there was also another person who had a bit of the idea of the Moot and has brought it, or mooted, excuse the pun, in a meeting of the United Nations, Michael Serre, who part of his estate comes back into the Moot to support the activity. And supporting the Moot in many ways is an important aspect. Now, it is great that Eric has provided the continuity, and he has been tireless and charming and really the pillar of the mood. But now he has support, the three co-directors that have been mentioned, Patricia, Stefan, and Christopher, which of course strengthen and bring their own sort of ideas so that the mood is really, the website has been improved considerably, the communications are done a bit more automatic, but so this combination of the old and the new, which is a characteristic of the city of Vienna, it is a process, an education process, which is important. But I would like to leave you with two words. The reason that the mood works is because of a vision and tireless altruism. Thank you, Eric.
From the beginning, we were supported in this student event by the profession. The very first year was the New York City Bar Association, and then very quickly, as well as, of course, here in Vienna, the VIAC. But very quickly, there were other arbitration organizations which began to become sponsors of the Moot. There were three of them, I think, from the second, or perhaps it was the third, Moot. American Arbitration Association, London International Arbitration Commission, Center, and the International Chamber of Commerce. We've been using in the new problem each year the rules of one of the sponsoring organizations. This year, as you know, it's the International Chamber of Commerce, in particular, its emergency arbitrator provisions. This is something new in international arbitration, and several other institutions have it also. But anyway, so ICC, and we're very happy that we're using the ICC rules this year, and I wish to welcome Andrea Carvalhalis, the Secretary General of the ICC, to speak and welcome you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As a great Viennese once put it, I'm talking about Karl Kraus, I would have stage fright if I had to speak to every one of the people before whom I speak. I have in my life, and especially in the last couple of years, had several opportunities to speak to large audiences, but I must confess, never to such a large, diverse and impressive one as we have tonight, made up of practitioners, of academics, but especially students, hundreds and hundreds of students. We heard 2,000 students gathering here in Vienna to refine and improve their knowledge of international arbitration law and their advocacy skills, but also to network and have fun. Of course, this is a very special edition of the Vis Moot for the ICC International Court of Arbitration, as the teams will be competing on the basis of the ICC rules of arbitration. Quite an extraordinary occurrence, considering that the last time the ICC rules were used was in 2001, so 14 years ago, and before that it was in 1997 that they were used for the first time. And over the next few days you will be meeting, starting from tonight, with a relatively large delegation of the ICC Court and Secretariat, with many members of the ICC Court, including its president, John Beachy, who will be in Vienna from Sunday, and several members of the Secretariat. But the ICC Court has not waited until this very exceptional circumstance, the application of its rules, to be part of this extraordinary event. So our presence at and our support to the Vis Moot is for the Court a long-standing tradition. Since the very first editions of this competition, we sent large delegations of the Secretariat to assist to arbitrate, to be part of the event. This year we also celebrated the 10th edition of the ICC Pre-Moot in Paris, with teams gathering in Paris for a last final training round before coming here to Vienna. In addition to hosting our own Pre-Moot, ICC court staff attended numerous Pre-Moots around the world. I'm told 22 this year, including in Shanghai, Beijing, New Delhi, Hong Kong, New York, Istanbul, Amman, Stockholm, Riga, Warsaw, Berlin, and of course Paris. And out of curiosity, this year we had also the first Pre-Moot online. The ICC court supports the Pre-Moot, not only for the unique nature of this absolutely extraordinary event, and not only out of passion for this city and for the Sacerdote, which I would submit are per se very good reasons. The ICC court supports the Moot as part of an articulated effort to strengthen the ties with the academia and with the world of education in international arbitration, which is reflected in numerous seminars and training programs we organize jointly with universities throughout the globe, and also regular visits we receive from university at our headquarters in Paris. So I'm afraid I were right to prolong these remarks and to prevent you or delay you from proceeding with the festivities. I, and more importantly, the institution I represent, will never be forgiven. So I will close, and I will close as I have started, with the words of Karl Kraus. I found most appropriate to the largest and most successful international arbitration educational events. Education is what most people receive, many pass on, and a few have. Enjoy the evening.
When the Moot was first proposed, it was proposed at the Congress on International Commercial Law, held in the context of a session of UNCITRAL in New York. The Congress went on in the General Assembly Hall of the United Nations, and I must say it was a very, very impressive venue in which to have this conference. Anyway, a New York lawyer, Michael Schur was his name, suggested that as a way of making these new conventions, because it was still relatively new, the CISG, better known, especially among law students, who of course are the next generation of lawyers, that there might be a moot, and being that it would be on a sales contract, private law, you have to have a tribunal. And now, moots within a national legal system, you can have the tribunal being the courts of that country, which that doesn't work in an international moot and in private law areas. And so part of the suggestion was also that it be an arbitration. And that was also appropriate because UNCITRAL had done important work in arbitration. The UNCITRAL arbitration rules, 1976, since amended. The UNCITRAL model law, 1985, and also amended, which is, as you know, the law in Danubia, and many other countries, I might add. So, to represent UNCITRAL, tonight we have Timothy LeMay, who is the Principal Legal Officer of the UNCITRAL Secretariat. Tim?
Thank you very much, Eric, and good evening to everyone. And let me say on behalf of the Secretary of the United Nations Commission on International Trade Law, it's my pleasure to welcome you all to Vienna and to this 22nd willem.C. Vis International Commercial Arbitration Moot. UNCITRAL is certainly privileged to have been involved with the Moot, as you've heard, ever since its beginnings in the early 1990s. And at that time, there were 9 teams participating, and we were able to host the event at UNCITRAL itself. We don't have a concert hall this grand or this big anywhere near UNCITRAL, and so we can't host it anymore. Of course, now there are some 300 teams, and the Vis Moot has become a major international event in Vienna. The arbitration moot competition was conceived, as you've heard, as an educational initiative aimed at promoting and expanding understanding of UNCITRAL texts, and in particular the United Nations Sales Convention and UNCITRAL's work in the field of arbitration. And the Vis Moot, involving participants from all over the world, I think has been very successful in that regard. It's contributed not only to the dissemination of information about UNCITRAL instruments, but also to the development of university courses dedicated to international commercial arbitration. And arbitration moot competitions modeled on this one are organized in various parts of the world. I would like to express appreciation to our former UNCITRAL colleague, our former UNCITRAL leader, Professor Eric Bernston, for the tremendous work that he has done these 20 plus years in the conception and organization and building up of this moot. Been the single most important person in every aspect of its development, and we owe him a vote of thanks for all that he has done. Now, we have again this year an impressive number of teams participating in the moot competition from all parts of the world, and pretty much as in our United Nations meetings, this diversity, we think, will make your experience during these few days a very rich one, and one that you will certainly remember for a long time. Now, for the preparation of your moot case, we hope that you have made good use of the tools, some of the tools that have been developed by UNCITRAL to assist practitioners, those tools being the digest of case law, both on the Sales Convention and on the model law, and of course the New York Convention new web platform set up by UNCITRAL with private contributors, and that's found, as you probably know, at New York Convention 1958.org. While next year we'll celebrate the 50th year of UNCITRAL, we also are marking two important anniversaries in 2015. The CISG, the Sales Convention, is 35 years old, and in addition to an event during the Commission here in Vienna in July, regional meetings discussing current issues relating to the CISG are being held around the world. And secondly, our CLOUT database, CLOUT stands for Case Law on UNCITRAL Texts, is in its 25th year of existence. It's accessible on our website, and visitors will see that it's been given a complete overhaul to make it easier to navigate and with an expanded range of search criteria. And that database, which is fed by a global network of national correspondents, some of whom are here with us tonight, currently contains over 1,500 cases from jurisdictions worldwide, including nearly 900 cases on the Sales Convention. Well, enough promotional work. I would like to, if I may, offer a piece of advice, obviously not for the competition, but for your future life as practitioners or arbitrators. And it comes from the experience that we see dealing with many nations in the context of our work at UNCITRAL. There are 4 billion people in the world who do not have access to justice because of their level of poverty. Try to think creatively and to see how dispute settlement mechanisms, which would be fair and transparent and affordable, could be created to fill these gaps in the need for justice. This is a field where there are great needs. In closing, please accept our best wishes for all of you for success over the next several days and for a very enjoyable stay in Vienna. Thank you.
One of the pleasures of having been involved with the moot over all these years is a large number of people. And right now I'm thinking particularly of the students, but also, of course, of the lawyers, professors, who have participated and continue to participate. And in regard to largely again, the students, there has been organized, following the third Moot, it was organized originally by the team of students in the third Moot from the University of Cologne, the Moot Alumni Association. As you know already, the Moot Alumni Association, it is the association largely of former student participants. It functions both as a professional organization and as a party organizer. And that's important. That's important. That makes a big difference in the mood. But you know, in terms of professional activities, the Schlechtrim conference yesterday, the CISG, the Generations in Arbitration conference today, that was going on. But now to represent and to welcome you, the President of the Moot Alumni Association, Pedro Martin.
Good evening. After so many months of hard work, you are all finally in Vindobona. Some of you are recurring friends and familiar faces, but many of you are here for the very first time, as we all saw. As you were told today, in the next week you meet several people from different parts of the world with different backgrounds and different career plans. And you also now share, as well as with many past participants of the Moot, a unique experience. You will certainly make friends. Some will constitute your future professional network. Others will become friends for the rest of your life. Some of you may even become Moot couples. Let's talk about conflicts of interest there. And I've also heard many news now, I think, of Moot babies. Moot children are... So indeed, the Moot has become quite an important event in the life of many students and professionals who come back every year once more as speakers or as arbitrators or coaches. The Moot Alumni Association, the MAA, provides you another way to keep contributing to the Moot, to keep in touch with your network, and to have access to interesting opportunities in the field of international commercial arbitration. Among its many projects, it is possible to mention the Vindobona Journal, our very own publication, the participation in the ancestral sessions, where delegates from all over the world discuss many issues in fields like arbitration, conciliation, insolvency, and securities. And also the International Law Project, through which we assist the further development of the PACE Law School database. If you want to know more about the MAA, or if you already are a member and wish to contribute to our work, please come talk to us at our table in the Juridicum. We are always looking for new volunteers and new ideas. But certainly, our main activities are related to the many events we organize every year during the Moot Week. After the CISG conference and the Generations in Arbitration conference that were just mentioned by Eric and were held in the past couple of days, we now have many social events ahead, and this brings me to some very brief administrative announcements. First of all, you are all invited to come to our official Moot bar, Schwarzberg. For those of you who have been here in previous years, it is in the same place as the previous Moot bar, Oslo, so it just changed its name. So probably half of you already know how to get there, and we all expect you to be there throughout the week. We still have some final tickets for the much anticipated Vienna walking tour and the Goulash dinner, which take place on Sunday night. If you have already registered for the Goulash dinner in particular, you will still need to pick up the vouchers for the meals that you have at the dinner. You can do so at the MAA desk during the weekend. The United Nations tour, which takes place on Monday, is now sold out. If you have registered, but you have not provided us the security information necessary to enter the United Nations, we kindly ask you to seek the MAA desk as soon as possible. Finally, on Wednesday, we also expect to see you all, or most of you, at our farewell party at Club Culture, recently awarded one of the finest clubs in the world. But please remember that on Thursday, after the farewell party, the Schwarzberg, our mood bar, will still be open for a last night, and you will all have a last opportunity to see your friends and bid farewell. All that being said, as you should know by now, the mood does not end in the pleadings that you have in the coming days. So rest assured that all of you, now alumni of the willem.C Vis International Commercial Arbitration Moot, are more than welcome to join every year, not only the MAA, but also the moot and its community. Thank you.
An event like the Moot, so many different people, so many different things going on, and going on in several different locations. There is information that has to be given to you as to how things will work and what you should do. And to give the kind of the administrative announcements now, one of our three co-directors, Patricia Neta.
I may also welcome the former participants and so many new participants. It's a wonderful development of the mood. We grow and grow. We have heard now about the fun events. I continue with some announcements to guide you through the real mood week, the one that's currently on the day. We have the hearings in 4 locations. Most of the hearings take place at the Juridicum, the Faculty of Law. Others take place at a faculty building called Schenkenstraße, and 2 other locations at law firms, Baker McKenzie and Dr. Jodis Brugger. All of the other 3 locations are nearby the Juridicum. It's just a 5 minutes walking distance from the Juridicum. The main meeting area is at the Juridicum. This is where the registration takes place, and the main meeting area is at the Dachgeschoss. It's hopefully not your first German word, but one of the most important during the Moot Week. It's the top floor at the Juridicum. That's where you find your name tags, the registration forms, and for the teams, we distribute envelopes. Together with the name tags, you will find some wireless LAN vouchers for the Juridicum area. And you have coffee at the Dachgeschoss, and there are many publishers. They present many books from participants, from former participants. It's amazing. And many professors that are involved in the mood. So have a look, go to the Dachgeschoss, it's worth. You also have many universities, they're presenting their postgraduate programs. And we have this year from the ICC a cafe area where you get breakfast and can meet the secretariat there. And this is also to support this request for early morning arbitrators. The ICC supports us to find reserve arbitrators for the morning session. Please come. If we do not have a spot for you, you get wonderful pastries and fruits. The hearing starts tomorrow morning at 8:30, the first round. We would ask the people who are not scheduled for the morning round not to come in the morning. It's very hectic. We have 3,000 participants during the week here in Vienna. So the Dachgeschoss is a large area, but it's not that large. So we would ask you to do the registration. You have time the whole day, and you can do it even on Sunday if it's not possible for you to do it tomorrow. Be punctual at your hearing when you're scheduled. It's very important. Every hearing is scheduled for 2 hours, and we do not have time to extend the hearings. This is a request particularly to students and the arbitrators to arrive in time. We also ask arbitrators to tell the team, especially at the law firms, if they're willing to stay for another round. Come and see our administration team. We have an administration team not only in the juridicum, but also at the law firms. Tell them that you would like to serve as a reserve arbitrator for the next round. Sorry, there's so many announcements. We should have informed you in advance. There's also one booklet I would like to refer your attention that we also offer at the Dachgeschoss. It contains all the rules that are related to the moot problem. It's very convenient to take it to the hearings. The ICC was so nice to publish this booklet, and please take it. I think it was nearly a ton that was delivered to Vienna, but it's worth. I have one favor I want to ask you. We have received complaints regarding the use of hearing venues at the law firms. People were taking food and coffee there, and it apparently happened that the carpet was damaged with food and coffee spots. So this year we really ask you, and you're not allowed to take food and drinks to the law firms. We were specifically asked to say that tonight, and we hope that we can continue the friendship that has been developed over so many years with the law firms, and we are dependent on that friendship. It's really important for us that they offer us their rooms next year again, that we can continue with them our cooperation. Otherwise, it's not so easy for the moot to grow every year and to have an increase in participants. So please support us in this regard. There's also no smoking allowed at the juridicum, at the law firms, at the Schenkenstraße, and also here after this opening at the reception. So, I have for the teams another announcement, and this is regarding registration fee. We have not received the full amounts from every team. This might be also because of the banking charges. So all of you should have received a notification of the amounts that are still due. And we would ask you to step by at the Dachgeschoss, where we have the administration desk. And you will also receive awards banquet tickets for the teams only after you have paid the full registration fee. This includes also the certificates for participation. We will hand out the tickets for the awards banquets for teams and the certificates together in one envelope on Monday. And arbitrators can already receive the tickets starting from tomorrow, also in the Dachgeschoss. And we ask for a fee of €20 from the arbitrators. If additional tickets are needed for guests, or if there are more team members than would be covered by the registration fee, then we ask for additional fee of €60 for each ticket. We have this year, as you have realized, we have a wonderful new website, but the website lacks photos. And this year we have a young photographer around, Christoph. He will be around and he will make photos of all of the sites, and he will also make some photos from the hearings. But he will ask in advance all of the participants whether he is allowed to do it. If you do not like it, if you feel disturbed by it, just let him know, and no photos will be taken from that session. Yes, I think I'm through. Anything else from you? Okay.
Vienna is a city of music. We're in a building in a hall where this is what it's basically used for, of course, and I've attended a concert here just 2 days ago, not in this room, in the room right next door. And then you're thinking, Mozart, Beethoven, Schubert. Well, the Moot also has its music, but it's not Mozart or Beethoven or Schubert. It's a little bit more up to date. And so we will hear from Professor Harry Fleckner from the University of Pittsburgh.
When I was a little boy, my daddy said to me, if you want great rich son, it's a merchant you should be. You can deal in goods from cars to car and earn more than enough. But don't buy or sell cross-border, son, 'cause that's awfully risky stuff. We didn't have no CISG. If we bought or sold in another state, we didn't know what the law would be. But now there's a convention to make global trade more free, except them now that U.S. course is treated like the UCC. As a young man, I took up those words my daddy said. I became a merchant, traded goods to earn my bread. But I would not buy or sell beyond the borders of my state, because if the deal was not domestic, none could tell my legal fate. We didn't have no CISG. We were clueless how the law would go if we dealt internationally. But now when I buy under this treaty, I know the exact size of my bill, unless a Belgian court decides I ought to pay an extra $500,000. But now there is a treaty when I buy or sell a farm. I can deal with folks from everywhere, from our own to Zanzibar. And the goods I buy, well, they're always fine, and I buyers, they never sue. You know, I hardly need a lawyer. Yes, my life's perfection true. Because we have that CISG. There's no risk in international sales, far as the eye can see. But I had just received a shipment, so I must quickly say goodbye. Because German courts and the Austrians too give me just 5 minutes to inspect and notify. Very kind. I am Professor Harry Fleckner from the University of Pittsburgh School of Law in the U.S., and that was the CISG song. I wrote the CISG song because I am convinced that the potential of the United Nations Sales Convention in the area of popular culture is underdeveloped. That may be changing, however. I understand that Mensatrol is about to introduce a line of CISG-themed men's underwear called Fundamental Breeches. The fact is, I'm beta testing a pair of fundamental breeches at this very moment. I suppose it was inevitable, but I'm afraid I must report that I feel substantially deprived of what I was entitled to expect. By the way, should you want to hear the CISG song again, there are free recordings available from a variety of sources. There are videos of past performances of the song here at the opening ceremonies on YouTube. There's a link to a recording of the song on the wonderful CISG website maintained by Pace University. But I've got to say my favorite recording is the one you will find on the website of the Center for International Legal Education, the CILE, at the University of Pittsburgh. That center was founded and is directed by my very good friend and very distinguished colleague, Professor Ronald Brand. Professor Brand is here tonight because his center sponsors the University of Pittsburgh team. He and I co-coach the team. And Professor Brand, over a number of years now, has been working with teams from other universities in various parts of the world to help them organize Vis teams. In fact, Professor Brand has now worked with teams from over 20 other universities in order to help them organize Vis teams. And, that proportion, a little over 20 to 1, is just about the proportion of work he accomplishes to what I get done, as a matter of fact. And that means that Professor Brand has one very glaring personality flaw. He makes me look bad in comparison. Every year I try to write a song that connects up with that year's problem and then perform it here. This year the problem required us to learn about the law governing letters of credit. We learned about the demanding conformity standard required between the provisions of a letter of credit and the documents that a beneficiary, in our case a seller of goods, must present in order to draw down funds under the letter. And we learned of the argument by respondent and others that by tradition, when commodities are sold, a similar demanding standard of conformity governs the question whether a buyer's letter of credit in fact satisfies the buyer's obligation under the contract for sale. But in this area of the law, as in so many others, there are disagreements and disputes about the exact legal standard. Some authorities, including UBC 600, are willing to tolerate a certain amount of discrepancy in the presentation documents, or at least some of the presentation documents presented by a seller. And this might suggest a certain amount of tolerance for some nonconformities, at least in some aspects of the letter of credit furnished by the buyer. Others, however, are of the opinion that all of the beneficiary's documents and every aspect of the buyer's letter of credit must strictly comply with all legal requirements. Proponents of this strict compliance view are tough-minded. They are precise, exact, demanding. Confronted with any discrepancy in the documents, they are stern disciplinarians. They are willing to deny the offending seller any right to draw down funds under the letter of credit. They are willing to declare that the imprecise buyer has forfeited the right to enforce the contract. One suspects that proponents of this strict compliance view derive a bit of slightly sadistic pleasure out of sticking it to sloppy parties. The song is entitled Proponents of the Strict Compliance View Tango. If you want to get paid under a letter of credit, but your documents have one small error, we say forget it. We are proponents of the strict compliance view. We say the letter's conditions must be met strictly, or you'll end up drawing down diddly. We are proponents of the strict compliance view. And if the letter's for commodities, we say that history teaches all departures from the contract are fundamental breaches. We are proponents of a strict compliance view. So give your documents a non-conformity. You could try changing CIF to CIP, or implying an increase in the quantity. But if you do, you'll feel contrition when we reject your submission. Slap you around in addition, because that's what we like to do. You will suffer much more than inconvenience when we show you no stinking lenience. We are proponents of the strict compliance view. You think we're mean and nasty? Well, you're right. For each boo-boo, we'll be delighted to totally scrutinize your documents. But we are proponents of the strict compliance view. For every failure, you must take your licks. We'll give them to you like a dominatrix. We are proponents of the strict compliance view. For every small error, we are most attentive. Freud would call us anal retentive. We are proponents of the strict compliance view. We are just proponents of a tough legal component, but we can't divide opponents of the strict compliance view. That was a wonderful reception. I'm not quite sure what it says about your musical taste, but it was a wonderful reception. By the way, I really must send out my apologies, particularly to the teams from Argentina. Argentina with its, there we go. Argentina with its wonderful, rich tradition of beautiful and serious tango music, a tradition to which I believe I just did irreparable harm. Also, that song contained a reference to a dominatrix. I would just like the record to reflect that before I wrote the song, I had no idea what that was. I had to look the word up in a dictionary. That is my story, and I am sticking to it. Well, the time has come for me to wrap things up here so that the opening ceremonies can be brought to a close and we can all get to the reception. But I do have one more song I wish to perform for you. It's a song about the Moot itself, this amazing event that over the course of 22 years has provided an amazing educational experience to thousands upon thousands of students who participated in the Moot. The Mooties, as you, of course you know you're called, as well as a wonderful experience to those of us who are Moot hangers-on, the coaches, the arbitrators, the administrators. The success of the Moot, of course, is due first and foremost to the vision, to the talent, to the energy and to the force of personality of the founder and longtime director of the Moot, Mr. Eric Dixon. And the continued success of the Moot is due to the remarkable group of people who have now taken over administration of the Moot, the triumvirate in particular, Ms. Keys, Patricia Natal, and Stefan Kroll. It's great to know the Moot is in the hands of such extraordinarily talented people. But the underlying reason for the Moot's success, of course, is that it does provide a great educational experience. And that educational experience is due to the fact that the Moot is so demanding. As you out there know perfectly well, the Moot requires a huge investment of your time, energy, and talents, and then it repays that investment many times over in terms of educational benefit. But making that investment is a sacrifice. Being a Mootie is a rather all-consuming activity. It tends to crowd out other aspects of your life. In particular, at least in my observations as coach of the University of Pittsburgh team, it tends to make it rather difficult to maintain much of a social life while you're a Mootie. This is a song about that aspect of the Moot, the toll it takes on your social life, and it's called the Mootie Blues. Well, I'm a mystery baby. I work that problem day and night. Yes, I am. I'm a mystery baby. Writing memos till dawn's light. I don't ever take no break. And look at my social life of life. 'cause I'm a Vis Moot, baby. I can argue morally. Why, yes, I can. I'm a Vis Moot, baby. Got a response from everything we read. Just do not ask me about my love life, because the mood took that away from me. Well, I'm sick of studying substance, CISG coming out my ears, and I've had it with procedure, arbitration rules, driving me to tears. So you want to talk about group of companies and the policies behind it? I'll tell you that go deposits in coltan where only a proctologist will find it. Because I know the rules for the sale. My passport was issued by Vienna, and our club is where they send my mail. Well, you're a Vis Moot, baby. You're in the library till it's closed. Why, yes, you are. You're a Vis Moot, baby. That problem's got you in droves. The only time you get high is when you climb up to the darkest shoes. And when you got to Vienna, you found booties everywhere. They were all wearing good-looking, fancy clothes and nice hair. And cause you hadn't had a date, some stars were showing the night above. That's when you realize that you're in the mood for love. 'Cause you're a Vis Moot, baby. You just move till you're blind. Well, your team, it may or may not advance, but your love life sure has been left behind. Well, we're all Vis Mooties, baby. Please sing this with me. We're all Vis Mooties, baby. Come hear what we say. We're all Vis Mooties, baby. One more time, we're all Vis Mooties, baby. Yes, I will. Our personalities scream, and our love life is a citizen now. We've all got passports from Vienna, and our club is where they send our mail.
Hard to follow an act like that, isn't it? No. Well, we'll see. The third of our co-arbitrators, co-directors, to come and give the closing remarks for Stefan.
Dear students, coaches, arbitrators, it's always a great pleasure to stand here and see so many friends, colleagues, future colleagues. But it's always a nightmare, as Eric said, to have a talk or to give a talk after the highlight of the opening ceremony before the reception. And when everything in principle has been said by other people already, so I'm very grateful to a person who lost his iPhone 6, gets a lot of phone calls, and if anyone is missing his iPhone 6 and gets phone calls from a man, I don't reveal the name, please come and see me afterwards. But there's one other area where I probably know a little bit more than all the other speakers before me, that is about the problem. So let me share some insights with you which might be useful for destroying the other side's argument in one of their moods. Let me talk about Ludmila Masrov. A lot of you were probably surprised to see that someone was in the mood problem who was born originally on the 9th July 2001. I really felt bad when I realized that, because I know as a student you probably spent ages
trying to figure out what was the background, why did he put that in. It's a very easy background. My second daughter was born on 9 June 2001, and normally I switch around the years. Unfortunately this year I was a little bit overworked, so I switched around the month. And she signed the witness statement. So fortunately she is underage, that means she's not liable for forging any signatures. But why do I tell you that story? Because it shows what being overworked does to you. And I felt even worse when the last second you could submit your request for clarification. I got one request by a team, which, and I now quote, said, Ludmila Mazrov was born on 9th July 2001. That means she's only 11 years old. Please explain. To be honest, I cannot explain that. But what does it show? That there are some people even more overworked than I am. And that means also you should not leave that opening ceremony, directly go back to your hotel room and try to have another, the 225th trial mood, but enjoy the reception here. That is much more important. The mood is also, it's not only a competition, not only an educational exercise, it's also a social exercise. That means you should do some work, you should appear to the hearing. And you should also appear to the hearing in time, in particular on Sunday morning. And we are here in CET, Central European Time. That means if someone comes up on Sunday morning and says, I'm an hour late because I was on Greenwich Mean Time, that doesn't count. Or we have completely screwed up in our educational purpose that you understand that there are different time zones. When you socialize, and I think a lot of you will do that, it's nice and you're allowed to get excited. There's one exception. Don't get too excited here at the opening reception. Because every year we have a problem with broken glasses. So if you want to get excited outside this building and leave the glasses in a proper state. Because otherwise it means that when you come back next year and the year thereafter, we have to drink out of plastic cups. In an environment like this would be a sacrilege. Again, let me reiterate how important it is that in the law firms, to which we are very grateful, in their rooms there is no food and no drinking. Because without these law firms, it would be completely impossible for us to organize an event like this. We are already struggling to find sufficient places. After I've said all that, I now come to the main part of my speech, which is the reception is open. And I wish you a nice time here.